We're going to begin tonight's program and town hall. I want to thank you all for coming to the Guilford County Delegation to the North Carolina General Assembly's town hall meeting. We're going to begin tonight with our Mayor Pro Tem bringing us words of greetings. Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem Abuzawader. Could we have everyone's attention, please? We've started the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Quick, and thank you to the delegation for coming to the Katie Dorsett Council Chambers. I bring greetings to you on behalf of the mayor and the entire city council. We do have Mrs. Tammy Thurm here from District 5, and there may be a few more who come in a little. Oh, I didn't see him. I'm so sorry. And Mr. Hugh Holston, who is at large. He is in the back. So we wanted to welcome you here, and we really appreciate you doing this in our council chambers. And we look forward to the community being able to express their needs. And I personally want to thank you for all that you have done for us over the years, all that you are doing for us right now, and all of the wonderful things you're going to do for us in the future. So it's a heartfelt greeting that we really value each and every one of you and look forward to working with you as we move along. So thank you so much.
Thank you for those warm remarks, and to you and Mayor Vaughn and all of the city council members, we say not only thank you for those remarks, but also thank you for allowing us to use this, your home, to conduct this very important meeting with our constituents.
You are so very welcome, and thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Guilford County Legislative Delegation Town Hall meeting. My name is Amos Quick, and I have the privilege of representing North Carolina House District 58, serving as a Democratic House Whip, and also being the chair of the Guilford County Delegation this biennium. I want to thank again all of you for being here tonight and to participate in your democracy. It is important that we hear from you, and we are eager to hear your remarks, answer your questions to the best of our ability, and also thank you for allowing us to represent you in the North Carolina General Assembly. If there are other elected officials who are present, would you please stand that we may acknowledge your presence here this evening? Thank you. School board members, city council members, thank you all very much. For Dr. Wells, thank you, and others who are here. Thank you all very much for being here tonight and for your work representing the citizens of Guilford County. I want to thank again the city of Greensboro for hosting us, for their wonderful hospitality, and the outstanding staff on the city, for the city who are assisting us tonight. Angela, Destiny, Q, Robin, Gary, Chesney, and Tori, thank you all very much for your work and your support of our gathering tonight. I want to thank my legislative assistant, Jasmine, who's here, and as chair of the delegation, she gets extra added responsibilities to help coordinate things. So, Jasmine, thank you. I want to thank my fellow legislators for their attendance. The Guilford County delegation to the North Carolina General Assembly consists of those of us you see here, but also Senator Phil Berger, Representative Cecil Brockman, Representative Alan Branson, Representative Pricey Harrison, and Senator Michael Garrett. And we are privileged again to serve you. Scheduling conflicts have prevented some of our legislators from being able to attend tonight. And so know this, they will view this and will receive the notes that we share with them. Tonight we will proceed in this way. Speakers who desire to speak for up to 3 minutes will need to get one of these forms with your name on it, and I will call your name. And once your name is called and you step to this podium to our right, you can stand there and your time will begin. Throughout this chamber, there are timekeepers that you can see. When you get close to the 3-minute mark, please begin to wrap up your remarks because at 3 minutes, we will have to move on to other speakers. Our legislators will introduce themselves first, beginning with the delegation co-chair, Senator Gladys Robinson. We'll take up to 1 minute to introduce ourselves. Legislators will be taking notes as you speak. So please don't think in any way we're being disrespectful if you see our heads down or if you see us using our phones to take notes. We are absolutely not ignoring what it is that you're saying. But oftentimes you'll bring up bill numbers, and I, for one, will use my phone to look up a certain bill number. We have over 800 bills that have been filed so far, so you may know the number and exactly what it says because that's the purpose that you've come. But we may need to jog our memories by using our electronic devices. So again, no disrespect is intended by that. I'll turn it over now to Senator Robinson for her opening remarks, and then Representative Clark and Representative Bluss will introduce themselves.
Okay. Now I'm on. Okay. Y'all are so sophisticated here in the Senate. All we have to do is punch a little button. Anyway, good evening, everybody. It is certainly my pleasure to be with you again. Now my 15th term, and probably about 30 years I've been coming here now. Anyway, it is always great to be here and to see the citizens of Guilford County. I'm State Senator Gladys Robinson, representing District 28, which is really now Greensboro proper after I've been redistricted 2 or 3 times. But it's my pleasure to serve you. And as Representative Quick has indicated, you'll have a lot of questions and concerns, but know that from the General Assembly this year, we, as you know, have dealt with the hurricane in the western part of the state, and we have been instructed and we understand the need to send as much money and support to the West so that they can rebuild. That is a priority of the state, and you see funds have already been sent, and so that will impact our budget. We do expect to get some things done, however, and we're hoping for things like increased teacher pay, and I have a bill that will give Guilford County that teacher supplement like the other counties got, the Tier 2 counties and Tier 3 counties got that we didn't get. So things like that, and then one to bring back the quarter of one penny sales tax that a lot of you did not recognize, that it was just a quarter of a penny, so that the county commissioners have asked that you be able to vote on that again. So those are just some of the kinds of things that will be going on, and you can see the others. But I certainly want to welcome you, and we'll take notes and be able to answer you maybe later on if we have time. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I am Tracy Clark. I am the proud North Carolina House 57 representative, so I represent northern Greensboro, so essentially Cone Hospital up till about Lake Brant. I was appointed last August when Ashton Clemens stepped aside, and then I was on the ballot and reelected this November. So I am also the proud co-chair of the Freshman Caucus. So I'm already taking a leadership role and really involved in helping the 11 freshman House Democrat representatives get their feet under themselves and make sure that we're all working together as a broader caucus. So I am doing a lot of filing. Bills are on the House side. Our deadline is a week away, and the majority of the bills I've filed are actually direct requests from our city council, from our county commissioners, and other local officials, because I really knew that they know what is needed on the ground, and I wanted to be very responsive in addressing their requests. So I'm happy to talk through more of that and look forward to hearing from you all.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm John Blust. I represent District 62, which is really the northwest part of the county. It's got some Greensboro precincts, the northwest part of Greensboro, the Cardinal area. It's got northern Guilford County, Stokesdale, Summerfield, Oak Ridge, the Colfax area, and then goes down and gets a little bit of northern High Point. And just to reiterate what the chairman said, it would be helpful if you just don't just use the number, use the short title and maybe a brief statement quickly on what a bill is if you're going to reference a bill, because we get these emails, and I'm sure my colleagues would back me up. Somebody says, please vote against House Bill 27 or sometimes Senate bill. And I can tell you at this point, I'm hardly paying attention to the Senate bills because every day there's a bunch of House bills filed, and you've got a short period of time to decide whether you're going to be a co-sponsor or not. And you can get in trouble with people if you don't co-sponsor something they think's important, and you'll get a lot of emails asking you to co-sponsor other things, but then sometimes press will even call wanting, what's your position on Senate? And I had to explain to somebody in the press the other day, I'm not going to look at Senate bills until they come up, unless they're massively controversial. Sometimes something gets so much publicity that you'll go ahead and learn something about it. So it is hard to keep up with all the bills being filed. That'll calm down in another week when the filing deadline's over. So I've barely had time to even read the House bills, and I'm always wary about sponsoring something if I don't read it, because somebody will tell you, even a member that you like will tell you, hey, can you sponsor this bill to do such and such? And you'll find out there's more in there than they've told you. And there could be something controversial that somebody will demand, why did you sponsor that? So it is helpful if you be specific as to the subject matter of what you want to speak on if it references a bill that's before the General Assembly. And I thank you for coming out. Look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, fellow legislators. And now it is time that we will begin to hear from you who have signed up. For those who also may be inspired to speak after hearing something else, who is taking the names? Where can they get one of these sheets? At the entrance, that you can get one of the sign-up sheets, and then one of the staff persons here will get that to us. I'm going to call out names two at a time. If you would please line up in the queue here as the second name called out. That'll help us move along so that we can hear from more. Christina Young is first, to be followed by David Coates.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Christina Young, and I'm here to speak about House Bill 171. I was born and raised in Durham, North Carolina, but I have been living in Greensboro for the past 25 years. I come from a long line of family members who have been born and raised also in North Carolina. And in fact, we are having our 50th anniversary of our family reunion in Fayetteville this year. So we have long roots in North Carolina. My mother and grandmother were career educators, and so I want to thank you for talking about increasing the teacher salary. Thank you very much for that. But I want to talk about, again, House Bill 171. As a Black American mother of two precious daughters who attend schools in Guilford County, I have witnessed the benefits of teachers, county employees who have been through professional trainings that deepen their knowledge about the history and the current experiences of all Americans, which includes learning about laws that prohibited students from learning together in cross-racial settings. I have seen the benefits of diverse sets of teachers attending professional development trainings to learn more about the experiences of African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, and white Americans. These types of trainings are critical for how they understand, listen to, and create a safe learning environment for my daughters and their peers in school, in public schools. And so this bill, 171, it requires them to stop learning about American history, about race, about segregation, about integration, and that's wrong. This bill would create an unhealthy learning environment for my children and their peers. This House Bill 171 is unethical. It says that there will be a penalty charging a state officer or employee $5,000 if they promote, support, fund, implement, or maintain workplace diversity, equity, and inclusion, including offering trainings about these types of topics. That is outrageous to fine somebody for that. Instead, I recommend that there is no penalty for doing what is right. Doing what is right is having someone that is paid by the state and the county to investigate if there are any remaining patterns of inequities or racial discriminations by race. in order to keep North Carolina's learning environment safe for all children. And when we are called to be responsible leaders, then we take our job seriously for protecting the safety of the children and to make sure they are not harmed. If these patterns are not investigated, then it creates a harmful environment for the children. And I can send you articles about how this is documented nationally in North Carolina and in Guilford County, and I'll be glad to send those to you later. So my question is, will you please stand against House Bill 171? And if you do not feel comfortable standing against it, I want to know, what do you see are the consequences to my family? Thank you.
Mr. David Coates, to be followed by Jim St. Sing.
Thank you, Representative Quick. My name is David Coates. I'm a member of the school board. I want to say I'm a new member, and I'm not here on behalf of the school board tonight. I'm here as an individual. Nobody delegated me to show up. But I found myself very concerned about teacher pay. As you're aware, and I think the people in the room are aware, school boards in North Carolina have no authority to tax. We can't go to the public and say, you know, we need X, and we're asking you to support a budget that includes that. We have to go hat in hand to the state, the federal government, and the county commission. We have teachers who are not paid properly. I think that's indisputable. We're a city and a county that has an awful lot to offer. You know, you, Representative Blust, you talked about Stokesdale and Summerfield and Oak Ridge, and I represent them too. I remember knocking on doors and talking to people, and the universal feeling I got was that people know that teachers are underpaid and they want them to be paid. Now, there's a lot of distrust of government, and I think that's the reason the initiative on the ballot didn't pass. You know, I don't think that's necessarily a correct feeling, but I think that is the feeling that's out there. So what can we do? Well, first of all, I noticed in going to the meetings last year that we had over 18% of our teachers who were teaching last year in the school district. They didn't show up to teach this year. Some of that is retirement, some of it's something else. The year before it was only 9%. A lot of it is directed towards pay. Teachers understand that they can go just a few miles from here and be paid substantially more. They know it. I hope the people in this room and the people in the county know it. One of the reasons is the $3,800 supplement that a lot of places get and Guilford County doesn't. That's poor. That's really, really poor. And, you know, it's for a bogus reason, in my opinion. So I was glad to hear you, Ms. Robinson, Senator Robinson, indicate that you're going to be sponsoring something, have sponsoring something. Thank you very much. Please act.
Thank you. Jim St. Sing, to be followed by Gary McCants.
Thank you. I'm here to talk about HB 127, which is the anti-voter registration bill. And as I read this bill, what it does is take away the right of us, any citizens who promise to follow the law in registering people, to actually get voters to sign fill out and sign voter registration forms, the actual forms. All we can do is give them a fake form that tells them how they can apply to get a voter registration form, and then when they fill it out, they have to take it in person to the Board of Elections. And worse than that, it actually criminalizes folks who, like us, who in the past have registered voters, and by violating the section, that is using a voter registration application form, that is the actual registration form to register a voter, would be a Class 2 misdemeanor. There are folks here that I have worked with in the past in voter registration, and the thought that what we were doing in the past to register voters and get them on the rolls and get them into the system would be illegal. And that's bad. It's also bad that this is clearly a voter suppression bill. I mean, this bill is simply going the wrong way. It makes it harder for people to get registered. It just throws another obstacle in their way. It clearly is intended to keep voter participation down, and that's the wrong direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary McCants, to be followed by Daniel Nanez. If I got it wrong, please correct me when you come up.
Good evening to the delegation. Thank you. Greatest senator in North Carolina, Gladys Robinson. Always have to say that. I'm Gary McCants, representing the Greensboro Business League as co-founder, co-chair, also representing the statewide NAACP conference as the Economic Development Chair. And I am not in support of House Bill 171. It goes back to Jim Crow 101. We have 138,000 African-American businesses in the state of North Carolina, billions of dollars in revenue generated in the state, over 6,000 employees, 6,000 employees who are paid and 70,000 employed by African-American businesses statewide. And that bill speaks against everything that these companies and firms have worked for over the past several decades in North Carolina. North Carolina is one of the fastest growing states in the country. African Americans have a $75 billion purchasing power in North Carolina, and that ranks 7th in the country. So we have a lot to be proud of, and what we don't need is something that speaks against all of that growth and development. I would like your support in denouncing that bill. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And we have to think about what's happening in the West. You know, with challenges with the hurricanes, with environmental issues, certainly you're going to need revenue to fund some of those efforts in Asheville and that entire region. But we need efforts here in the Triad. We have HBCUs, Winston-Salem State, North Carolina A&T State University, Bennett College. We need more funding for those institutions. We have nonprofits in the region. Greensboro Business League, East Greensboro Now, Piedmont Business Capital, CDFI, M&F Bank, one of the oldest black-owned banks in the country. It's less than 19 financial institutions that are black-owned in the country, in the United States. We've got to have support. I ask you again for your support for these organizations and the community. We have other issues that we have to deal with, housing. Certainly want to have safety issues that we have to deal with, but education issues are very important. So I ask for your support, and let's see how it works. Thank you.
Thank you. As our next speaker comes up, who's going to tell me how to pronounce his last name, I want to make this note. At the end of our gathering tonight, we will be making closing comments. And so several of you have already asked about positions on certain bills or ways that we're thinking. In our closing comments, we can address those things as best we can. So we're not ignoring your request. We're just waiting to give you more time to speak, and then in our closing comments, we'll address those. Daniel, will you please teach me how to pronounce your last name? And
Yes.
then after you will be Tyler Beal.
Sí, my name is Daniel Nanez.
Nanez.
So Miss Gladys and Miss Tracy, you're my representatives. Thank you so much. I was wanting to ask for your help in the issue of deportations and what's happening in this country. I am American. I was born here in America on this side of the border. I am also a proud Mexican American, and since the year has started and this election has happened, I have been in fear because of reports of what I've read about people in this country that either look different than who is currently serving in our federal, in the White House, or believe or have beliefs that are different from people that are currently occupying the White House. Just to show you guys my fear is I walk around, even when I go for a walk down the street, I take my license and my passport with me because I'm afraid that, is there some database or some information sitting somewhere that somebody in ICE or somebody in the federal government or even local police officers are going to use to round me up and be deported to Guantanamo or El Salvador. I keep reading these reports of students, and there was one, I think, recently where an individual was taken and it was, quote unquote, an administrative error, and he was a U.S. citizen. And so I don't know the answers to solve this, but I just wanted to talk to you guys about my life and my situation when I see these events happening in the news, that I'm completely terrified that my kids, also born here in America, that my wife will come home one day and I won't be there waiting to greet them at the end of their day. So thank you very much for your time and your attention. Muchísimas gracias. Good luck in your endeavors.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Tyler Beal to be followed by Scott Jones.
Thank you all for being here today. We know you're here because you believe in public service, but I do want to take a second to be honest and ask, how often have the people of Guilford County actually seen that service in action? How often have we had real opportunities, not just like tonight, but regularly, to engage with our elected officials, bring problems to your attention, and receive the guidance needed to navigate state resources? Because when I take a look over the past year, it hasn't been very clear where exactly that leadership has been. Engagement isn't just about responding to a crisis, voting in Raleigh, or making an appearance during election time. It's about proactive leadership that ensures people have a seat at the table before the decisions are made. I'd like to give two quick examples of what that might look like. One, open and recurring community access, we see campaign town halls and election year meet and greets, but what about the in-between? Imagine if our legislators held monthly or quarterly office hours, whether in a library, community center, or even a local coffee shop, where constituents could sit down, ask direct questions, and get help navigating issues specific to them. Leadership shouldn't only be accessible during election season, political parties, or through insider access. It should be an open-door policy year-round. Second way I think this could be accomplished is by building mutual aid and community support networks. State government can often feel distant from the struggles of everyday people. But what if, instead of just pushing out policy updates, our elected leaders actively connected constituents with local mutual aid efforts? Imagine representatives using their platform to highlight food distribution events, rental assistance programs, or legal aid resources, ensuring people know what support exists and how to access it before they hit a crisis point. This isn't personal. It's simply about what the people of Guilford County and North Carolina deserve. I hope that each of you continue to strive towards the betterment of our communities, our state, and our country. Because public service is more than just a title. It's more than social media posts and a votes on legislative scorecard. It's about showing up, staying engaged, and making sure that the people you represent never have to wonder where their leaders are when they need them the most, because they are already there extending out a helping hand. Now, two specific bills I'd like to comment on, which I was speaking on yesterday, Senate Bill 474, the DAVE Act. This bill forces agencies to justify every dollar they spend, yet lawmakers recently gave themselves the power to hide, delete, and even destroy their own records. Every other part of this government has to report to the public, but the legislature has decided it doesn't. If transparency is so important, then why would you exempt yourselves from that? Secondly, regarding Senate Bill 558, eliminating DEI in higher education, I honestly think the most recent example that underscores the value of DEI programs comes from Republican Judge Jefferson Griffin, currently still contesting his Supreme Court seat, cosplaying as a Confederate soldier while attending an institution of higher education. However, he now has apologized, demonstrating the power of DEI initiatives, which encourage reflection, understanding, and empathy for others' experiences. And I would ask you to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Just two quick notes that was just brought up by last speaker. Number one, we will be hosting a town hall later this year in High Point, North Carolina, to give the county that has two large cities in it, to give it that balance. And then secondly, the legislation about the emails and public remarks that we've made through email. Not everyone in the General Assembly voted for that, so that's very important to note. That was not a unanimous vote. There were some that did vote against that policy. All right, that being said, Mr. Scott Jones, to be followed by Kay Brown.
Well, good evening, and thank you for being here in Guilford County. Thank you for being a representative of the citizens of Guilford County. I'm Scott Jones. I'm the executive director for a nonprofit here in Guilford County called Tiny House Community Development. We're just celebrating our 10th year anniversary, but I'm here tonight because I'm concerned. It was echoed Tuesday night at City Council meeting that we aren't receiving enough money in Guilford County to meet the needs of people experiencing homelessness and poverty in Guilford County. We are working very hard, City Council, County Commissioners, to create new job opportunities, factories, jobs. But we have nowhere for them to live. We have jobs with no one who can afford a place to live in Guilford County. Currently, as of today, there are 214 individuals who are seeking rapid rehousing that are experiencing homelessness right now, this moment. 92 are looking for and trying to get permanent supportive housing here in Guilford County. That's over 300 individuals, residents of Guilford County, who are experiencing homelessness, and that's not even the total number that we have. We need funding. The county needs funding. Greensboro City has been spending a lot of money toward housing and services for the homeless, but the county does not have the funds that they need to assist the agencies that are out here as part of our county continuum of care, who desperately needs more funding, because we're all fighting for the exact same dollar, and there's just not enough dollars to do what we need to do. I speak about homelessness, but in reality, a lot of it has to do with mental health and the lack of services that we are able to provide for mental health. We do have resources here if you have good insurance, but if you don't have insurance, as most experiencing homelessness here in Greensboro and High Point, you can't get the necessary care that you need for mental health. And we need more mental health professionals. We need more money for housing. We know after what happened yesterday in the Rose Garden with the tariffs, we're in trouble. The material that we buy to build housing is getting ready to go through the roof. We know we're short thousands and thousands of homes here in Guilford County. I feel very sad for the people in Western North Carolina that lost their homes, because believe it or not, they become homeless during that storm, and they still remain experience homelessness. I just plead that the state legislature will take a serious look at Guilford County and across the state, and let's address the need for mental health services and homeless services as well. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Kay Brown, to be followed by Bridget Raspberry.
So I will say that I am here because it's my black job to be here, since that's what our president called it. I'm here out of concern that as a parent of 2 young sons and also having a sibling that is still currently in GCS right now, that we would in 2025 be in a space where people still don't want proper history to be taught, and that we have things like Senate Bill 227 eliminating DEI in public schools, which is actually in a lot of ways affirmative action for white men who are fragile. I'm also here with concerns about democracy and to let you all know that we are fastly falling into dictatorship and fascism. It is on our state legislature to hold the line. The people of the state of North Carolina made decisions around the elections and who we wanted to represent us. Even if I didn't like every person, I still stood firm, as many and millions of us did in North Carolina, to have our voices heard, and we expect the state legislature to honor that and not have retaliatory bills and legislation that removes the responsibilities of people once they're elected if they don't like their party. I have serious concerns about House Bill 171 and the concept that now that I've gotten my master's degree, now that my friends have doctorates, we could be questioned on whether or not we're qualified based on race, gender, veteran status, disability, or anything else. These things are starting to look like, feel like segregation, deeper levels of racism that is reminiscent of the 1960s, 1940s, and beyond that. We're taking a lot of steps behind, and I'm very concerned that our state legislature and our Guilford delegation may not be able to hold the line to keep us from falling into what is really looking like a dictatorship. I have some serious concerns, again, around the budgets and the fact that we have court-ordered, we have had our legislator court-ordered to fully fund our public schools, and the fact that they are not doing so, in my opinion, it feels like they should be arrested. Because if I broke the law and I did not follow a court order, I would be fastly arrested or I would have to pay substantial fines. In the time of 2025, I have concerns, serious concerns, about why is it necessary to exclude DEI in the state and local government? And honestly, shouldn't the diversity of the state and the power of our people be honored everywhere, including the state legislature? And we sent you up there to be a diverse body to represent us at our intersections. And it is scary to know that based on party lines or based on people being forced to fall into line, that they're just voting for things that are harmful and could cost us millions and billions of dollars like the last bathroom bill did. I'm sad that Alan Branson is not here as my representative as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Bridget Raspberry, to be followed by Lolita Watkins.
Good evening. My name is Bridget Raspberry. I'm the Executive Director of the Beloved Community Center, also one of the co-founding organizations of the Guilford Black and Brown Women's Voting Initiative, and I'm a lifelong resident of North Carolina and a new member of the Guilford County community. I want to thank the organizers of this event for giving us this platform to speak, and thank each and every one of you for being with us this evening. My comments really have to do with accountability and also Senate Bill 558. There is a growing dissatisfaction and concern, as you've heard from the last speaker, that our state legislature is becoming extremely partisan. And that is concerning. That erodes our ability to fully fulfill our obligation and duty in civic life. And so my question to you is, do you individually and collectively commit to entering into covenant with those of us here in this community to represent our interests over that of the party or your party affiliation? And if you do, how do you intend to seek the will of the people before voting on legislation such as Senate Bill 558? For those who don't know, this proposed legislation eliminates DEI in public higher education. Not only is it a proposed legislation based upon a faulty premise that there is equality or equality is real in our university system and not still just a lofty ideal, but it also prohibits the free exchange of ideas, differing, eradicating those that might differ from the current federal administration. It seeks to elevate First Amendment rights of some over that of others, and it prohibits institutions of higher learning from even documenting, investigating, or addressing instances of hate speech, making these institutions unsafe for many. So I'm asking you again, do you individually and collectively pledge to enter into covenant with those that you represent to represent their interests over that of your party? Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, Ms. Lolita Watkins. Good to see you. And next is Philip Marsh.
Good afternoon.
Good
I'm
afternoon.
Lolita Watkins, and I represent the Triad Black Faith Leaders and Black Farmers Network, and also the Black and Brown Women's Voting Initiative. My comments relate to food insecurity and the House Bill 171. These are some food security facts for Guilford County, the state of North Carolina. 13% of the residents in Guilford County are food insecure. This data is from 2022. 74,080 people in Guilford County are food insecure. There are 24 food deserts in Guilford County, 17 in Greensboro, 7 in High Point. 23.3% of children in Guilford County are food insecure, which translates to 27,620 youngsters. My questions relating to you all for food insecurity. What programs, ideas, policies, initiatives are in the upcoming state budget process in addressing food insecurity in Guilford County and across the state of North Carolina? Or, if they are not, are you willing to meet and build coalitions with nonprofits such as ours, Triad Black Faith Leaders, in Guilford County with missions addressing food insecurity for inclusion in the budget process in 2025 or 2026? In regards to House Bill 171, I am against this bill, and I think it assumes that government hires have been made to unqualified people. If this bill is passed, this would harm efforts to create an inclusive, equitable, and diverse environment in North Carolina. How is this good? And don't you think this would harm our local and state economy? Thank you.
Thank you. Philip Marsh, is he present? Okay, Derek Mobley. Philip Marsh, and then Derek Mobley.
Good afternoon, and thank you for your representation. So I'm here to also speak about affordable housing. As you've heard already tonight, we're going to have a huge problem, a huge tsunami coming at us. We're already treading water as it is, and as we move into this year, we see some of the federal funding that's being cut in some of our traditional avenues or where we may seek funding from. I just wanted to speak on behalf of people who are seeking that type of housing and making sure that the state tries to fill in as many holes as possible. And so I want to support Bills 640, Bill 925, Bill 497, and House Bill 647. All of those bills will be attempting to address some of these issues that we've already been studying And with regards to House Bill 647, where we have task force that are studying these problems, we need to make sure that people that are on these task force come from all walks of life, because what is happening is a lot of people are falling through the cracks that are not a part of these conversations. And what we are seeing in the market is that a lot of non-traditional people that typically haven't experienced needing affordable housing need that as much as possible. And so I appreciate you looking into this for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you leave, you gave the bill numbers, and we thank you for that. Do you know if those are House or Senate bills, the first three, 640?
Those are all House bills.
All House bills. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Derek Mobley, to be followed by Jenny Olson.
First off, thank you for doing this. So my name is Derek Mobley. I'm a resident of Greensboro. I'm from the Triad. I've lived here pretty much all of my life. I just wanted to make a few comments and suggestions related to economic development. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is kind of the current state of Guilford County and the Triad, because I figure, if you don't know where you are, it's hard to talk about where you're going. And I feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect there because, we hear that our area is booming and there's been some good economic, announcements. So that could be good for the future. But, if you look at the numbers over the past, 10 years, if you go back 20, 30 years, this area has really lagged, compared to Mecklenburg County and, the Raleigh area, the Triangle. I think we all kind of know that. And one of the takeaways from that, we're still the third largest county, Guilford County, but our relative position compared to where we were 20 or 30 years ago has declined considerably. And so I feel like we see that as a symptom that shows up in a lot of our, things that you're seeing here is we're still third, but we don't have the influence that we used to have in terms of jobs, in terms of money, in terms of representation. So kind of the lack of growth here, I think, is like a severe root problem that we need to acknowledge is still here and is still very much happening. And I was happy Tracy Clark met with me on this recently. We talked over some numbers. Just to get to where some of the other areas have gone, we would need about 30,000 new homes and 50,000 new jobs in this area with incomes that are about $10,000 higher than the median to get to where these other areas have already been. And, I hear from some folks, we don't want to be Mecklenburg, we don't want to be Wake, and, to that sometimes I say, congratulations, we're not, and what does that mean for people that we're not there? It means there's billions of dollars of revenue that's missing that holds us back, I think, from being able to do a lot of things that we want to do. So I'm just trying to press the urgency of, at the state level is to continue advocating and don't feel like everything is going great because, by a lot of measures it's not. Then I just wanted to share kind of a few ad hoc ideas, even though it's sometimes not a great idea to segue from one subject to the next. Some of the things that we could do that are positive. One of the ideas that I just kind of thought about is having a medical school. We're very proud of Cone and Cone hospitals, but if you want to be a doctor, you can't really make that happen here. And it seems odd to me, given the competition and the shortage in that industry, that we're not opening that space maybe to more competition here in the Triad. So is that something that we, might consider? I've heard that, we might be having a regional water system discussion for the rural areas. I think that would be really positive to get us where we're going in terms of housing. Time's up. Earned income tax credit is the last thing. Please bring that back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jenny Olson.
Hold on 1 second. Thank you so much. Jenny Olson, who's there, and the last speaker that we have signed up is Samuel Hawkins. Again, if there's anyone else who desires to sign up to speak, please do so at the front entrance. But the last speakers that we have signed up are Jenny Olson and Samuel Hawkins. Please continue.
Thank you. I'm here in support of Senate Bill 658. Thank you, Senator Robinson, for your sponsorship of that bill. It is asking for $1 million to fund and operate Blandwood Mansion, which you may have seen as you drove here this evening. It is one of the oldest surviving specimens of Italian-style architecture here in the United States. We're lucky to have it here in Greensboro. It's one of our cultural assets, and it is starting to crumble. We recently Preservation Greensboro completed a historic structure report on the building. The interior of the building is in great condition, and so we need to fix what we call the envelope, the exterior. And the importance to the community, it's been here since 1790, so it's a study in architectural history. You can see how it evolved over the years from vernacular architecture all the way to that Italian style. It's neoclassical with the symmetrical nature of the building, and it also celebrates the contributions of Governor Moorhead. He got Greensboro really on the map here in the state by bringing the railroad through this gate city. The architect, Alexander Jackson Davis, was also an architect for buildings at Davidson College, Chapel Hill, and the North Carolina State Capitol building. And so there's a story there from an architecture history for the state. Moorhead also helped to bring the mills and industrialize North Carolina to really bring this state from an agrarian society into an industrial society. So he was very innovative that way. He was also supportive of education of women. He started a school for women, a school for boys, a school for the deaf. He was also supportive of the mental health. He started an asylum in Raleigh to help that population too, which I know we've talked about tonight. Other assets within the Blandwood property, there was a large group of enslaved, so it gives us a chance to tell their story too. One of them, Hannah, she is memorialized in Eugene Moorhead's journal and discussed how she created this amazing meal of possum and chicken. And so those stories we're able to capture and tell with that property. So it's currently closed. We've had to lay off staff. I'm on the board. And with the dollars that are in that proposed bill, we'll be able to open that building back up for tours to tell those stories, to celebrate the history, the cultural assets of this area. And we'll be able to start renovating the building. With this historic structure report, there's about $2 million+ in renovations that will be needed, and those dollars will help support that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. As Mr. Hawkins comes to the microphone, he will be followed by Burton Kennedy. And as they prepare to make their remarks, I want to acknowledge the presence of Lori Ann Harris, who has done an outstanding job of making us aware of the needs of the Blandwood Mansion. And so thank you for that. All right. Ms. Samuel Hawkins, and followed by now our last speaker signed up is Burton Kennedy. And again, if there's anyone else who wants to speak, please sign up to do so. Good evening.
Hello, good evening. I'm Commissioner Samuel Hawkins with the Greensboro Criminal Justice Advisory Commission. First, let me begin by saying good evening to the attendees on the dais. I'm here to express concerns on behalf of a number of residents as it relates to SB 50. The bill centers around removing the requirements of having a concealed carry license for firearms. This choice to move it forward, correct me if I'm wrong, in both divisions within the state legislature presents a clear and present danger to our residents. The bill only requires any person who is a U.S. citizen and is at least 18 years old can carry a concealed handgun in North Carolina unless prohibited otherwise by law. No formal safety training and less accountability could equal rising trends in homicides. What is already being seen as a rise in violent crimes across many North Carolina cities, and specifically the city of Greensboro. This becoming a law will almost certainly create an even greater rise in injuries and deaths due to homicides. What can be done to curtail what could become a potential rise in the deaths of our men, women, and children as a result of such legislation? Thank you.
Thank you. And just as a point of information, that bill has not made it over to the House yet, but you are right in that it did pass Senate committees. Burton Kennedy.
Yep, my name is Burton Kennedy. I'm a Greensboro native. I appreciate you all being here.
Let me make one more solicitation for those who desire to speak. If you would, please sign up. If not, you will be the last speaker. And your time has not started yet, so go right ahead.
First of all, I would like to thank the previous speaker. I couldn't agree more. Still carries. But I'm here to speak about plastics. It's been many, many years since there's been any bill before you all that had to do restricting so-called single-use plastics. We did it years and years ago in the Outer Banks, and that idea was put away. I have children that live in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. They don't do it. You don't go to a restaurant and leave with a styrofoam box. They don't allow it. If you do it here, give it to the tiny house people to recycle. But the idea of a bottle bill is a great idea to restrict single-use plastics. As we've learned more and more, these so-called microplastics are not just polluting the rivers, the oceans, and the roadsides. They're polluting our bodies. Each of us consumes about a credit card worth of plastic every couple of weeks. So I would just encourage you, anytime something comes up that would help restrict the use of single-use plastic, to please endorse it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any others who desire to speak before legislators make closing comments that will address some of the issues? Okay, seeing none. Let me just provide just a little context, and then I'll turn it over, and we'll start with Representative Clark and work our way this way. A little context as to how the legislature works. Many of you already know this, but please indulge for the benefit of those who don't. I'll bring it to the point of bill filing, because there's a lot that happens actually before a bill is filed. For example, these kind of conversations take place in groups or with individuals that will spur legislators to file bills, file legislation. So those things happen. So we'll start with bill filing. A bill is filed in either chamber of the General Assembly, the Senate, or the House, and then it is assigned to a committee. It goes through a committee most times. It goes through a committee process that brings it to the final committee in the Senate and House, which is the Rules Committee, that votes on whether or not a bill will make it to the floor. If a bill passes one chamber of the House, it still has to pass the other chamber of the House, even before it becomes law. So a Senate bill that passes the Senate still must pass the House. A House bill that passes the House still must pass the Senate. Oftentimes, a bill will pass the House or Senate and go to the other chamber and be changed by that opposite chamber. That change then spurs the need for a conference committee. A committee is formed of members of the House and the Senate to come together to try to hammer out a compromise bill that is then voted on again voted on again in both the House and Senate. Then it makes its way to our governor. The governor has three options when a bill reaches, in this case, his desk. He can sign it into law. He can allow it to sit on his desk for 10 days and it become law without his signature, or he can veto it. A veto bill goes back to the chamber of origin. So if a Senate bill is vetoed, it first goes back to the Senate chamber. If the veto is sustained in the Senate chamber, that ends the veto process. If the veto is overridden in the Senate chamber, it then goes to the House chamber for the House to vote on whether or not to sustain or override the governor's veto. So that process, and that is kind of the Cliff Notes version of how the General Assembly operates on bill filing, passing, and vetoes. And there are several footnotes that I can make that would carry us into next week to describe how some things happen with some bills. But that's a general sketch of how things happen in the House and Senate and the North Carolina General Assembly. With that being said, several of you have brought up points that you would like a response to. And with our closing comments, we will address those in our own particular individual way. We'll start with Representative Clark and then go to Representative Blust and then Vice Chair Robinson, and then I'll close out with my comments, and then any other closing remarks. So thank you for that indulgence. Representative Clark.
Thank you. Thank you again, everyone, for voicing your comments and concerns. We hear you loud and clear. I will start with the DEI measures. I believe 4 people spoke to that. So House Bill 171, it is trying to eliminate DEI in state employment. There are also 2 other bills that we're concerned about. Senate Bill 558 is eliminating DEI in higher ed, and Senate Bill 227 is eliminating DEI in public education. I sit here today as a white woman. I fully recognize that we all have our stories and backgrounds and values, and we are stronger because of our diversity. And it pains me that anyone feels uncomfortable showing up in who they are as a person, because I value the stories and backgrounds and values that everyone has, regardless of their race, ethnicity, sexual identification, anything. I'm so proud of everyone, and that's what we need to all work together to strive to make sure everyone feels loved and included. So I will always, always make sure that your voices are included, you're feeling involved, and that is not any anti-DEI measure I will always fight against. So I want to make sure that is loud and clear, because DEI is an important thing. It is very important in all aspects of our society. We are stronger as a legislator because we have diversity, to make sure that we are representing everyone's beliefs. That spans over. I will also address the immigration and deportation concerns, because that personally pains me. I have traveled the world. We are a melting pot of cultures. And again, it goes to the inclusivity nature of no one should feel safe and that they don't belong here. We have introduced legislation to try and prevent ICE from coming into sensitive locations, such as schools and churches, because we really want to ensure that immigrants know that they are welcome here in North Carolina. Sadly, there are more ICE bills and regulations being introduced, and they are being fast-tracked through. But again, I will do everything in my power to make sure that our immigrant and refugee community feels loved. I will end with Samuel Hawkins talking about Senate Bill 50, because that is my why. I actually started years ago speaking to City Council about gun violence. As a mom, I have lost loved ones to gun violence. That is my why. That got me to where I am today. Senate Bill 50 passed the Senate side. House Bill 5 is coming quickly. It essentially eliminates any permit, any training, and reduces the age to 18 to have concealed carry. That is terrifying. It will kill people, and it will specifically kill police officers. The data shows that 77% of us are fine with the permit process. That is what a responsible gun owner is. You are fine to do the training to make sure that you understand that what you're carrying can be deadly. So again, we will fight that instance to make sure that we implement stronger gun safety legislation instead of unwinding it, which will put everyone at danger. So again, that's just a couple. I appreciate all of your inputs. I'm happy to meet with you or speak with any of you. You can always search for our names for our email addresses. We appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, just to take off on what the chairman has been talking about in the bill numbers and introductions, the thing to keep in mind is most of the bills, I still think it's way more than half, most of the bills filed will never get heard even in a committee. When a bill's filed, it goes on the calendar. It's given a number. They're consecutively numbered. It goes on the calendar for under introductions, and it's read in. The Constitution requires a bill to be read 3 times. The first reading, it has been held, constitutes just having it appear on the calendar and assigned to a committee. Usually that's going to be the committee whose jurisdiction most corresponds to the subject matter of the bill. Sometimes it happens that a bill not favored by the leader, because that's just a call of the speaker for a House bill and the president pro tem for a Senate bill, they decide on their own what committee a bill gets referred to. That can sometimes be the determining factor as to whether it gets a hearing or not, because they may stick it in a committee where they know the chairman is never going to move that bill. So most of these bills aren't going to get heard. The other thing to remember, and I had been gone 6 years, and we had a caucus, and I warned caucus members about going out and filing bills, because at the start of the session, when there's bill filing and there aren't a lot of bills being heard and there's not a lot of votes yet, the press focuses in every day on what got filed. So the most wild member of your party or the most wild member of my party can file a bill. A lot of times it's kind of to puff up and show how much I support something. I'll show the back and to get some publicity. And that can sometimes rub off on every single member of your party, because the media will pick up this bill was filed to such and such, and look at what those Republicans down there in Raleigh are concentrating on, all these problems, and they're concentrating on this or that. And a lot of times you'll start getting tons of emails. Now, I wanted to address, somebody talked about accessibility as if it's not accessible. I've found out since I've been there, it's way more accessible now, particularly with email. And I spend a decent portion of every day. First of all, I've got to go in and see how many emails I can eliminate off the top. And that's why one thing I'd advise you for, find your representative and address your concerns to that representative, because not even from Guilford, some people will email the entire General Assembly, and I have to let those go off the top. If it's somebody from Guilford, I pay more attention to, but it might not be somebody from Guilford from my district, and there just isn't time to respond to all these emails. Sometimes an email is going to be something that I know off the top is not going to go anywhere. So far I've had my LA. I don't know how to do this myself, but we only get one staffer. I have my LA try to put a subfolder on, hoping I can go back and do a general comment on the issue later. A lot of them I don't respond to right away because I don't know what the bill says yet and what I'm going to think about it later. And I've learned in here, people come up and they'll say something's in a bill, and if I go some of the bills you've brought up tonight and I say, hey, we had some people who were concerned about this bill, and I'll ask the sponsor, what about this? And I'll get a totally different response. That's not what it's doing at all. That's not what it says at all. And I have learned the one thing you don't do, because I used to do a lot of door knocking too, Mr. Coates, in past elections. I did some last election, but I've found out, and I learned this partly from Howard Coble, you never get in an argument with a voter. and sometimes you have a factual difference. Somebody's telling you this, and you think that's factually not true, and you're not going to get anywhere trying to convince them they're wrong on the facts. So I will certainly ask about some of these bills brought up and some of the subject matters, especially if they start to come up for actual action. I thought there was one more. Oh, I had a question, because this came up a few times, and we've heard about it at the Trevick meeting. The affordable housing, I kind of need a definition of affordable housing, because I'm finding almost nothing is really affordable anymore. I mean, just that Guilford's got such high land values that any structure you put on a building, even if it's not that big of a structure and a lot of rooms, is going to cost a pretty good amount of money, and is going to somebody's going to have to be charged a pretty big amount of money for staying there. Even simple apartments, which, excuse me, I see apartments going up all over the place, and I'm thinking, living in all these, because there's a whole bunch of new ones, but you look up apartments now, a one-bedroom is now over $1,000, and that's a good chunk a month. I don't even know if I would call $1,000 a month one-bedroom affordable housing, so I don't know what to do about that, to be frank, and would love to hear some ideas. One, what's affordable, and two, how do we get them?
Thank you, Mr. Bluss. Vice Chair Robinson, as she prepares to make her remarks, let me acknowledge the presence of some others who have come in. At-large City Council Member Jamila Pender, I recognize. District 1 City Council Member Sharon Hightower, I should know that, that's my district, you're my City Council Member. And from Forsyth County, Representative Amber Baker, who is here, came from Winston to join us tonight. So thank you for being here. Thank you.
Well, I'll make my remarks brief, but we do want to welcome Representative Baker. I think Senator Lowe sent you so y'all can see how we do it over here. Oh. My mic is not on. Now it's on? Okay, come close. I'm so short. Okay. I'll lean in. Just a couple of comments, and I want to thank all of the speakers because it's so important that we hear from you. A lot of you we hear from as we're around in the community, as we're at different kinds of events, whether it's realtors, whether it's funerals, too many funerals, if we are in the store, wherever we are, and we are in a lot of places. This $13,000 a year job is really full-time, and I can say that after 15 years, but we are everywhere, and I can say that about all of our delegation because we're quite involved, and we're involved in Raleigh where we work, as well as that's normally Tuesday or Monday through Thursday for I think the house, you finish on Wednesday, we finish on Thursday normally. And so we're back home Friday, Saturday, Sunday, basically, while we're in session. Hopefully the session will end this year, June 30th, we're told. But it depends on the budget. And the budget is ongoing now. The Senate has a budget. We're told that we collectively in the Senate will receive the budget on Monday. And I can't tell you what's in it. I know that I hope some things are in it that we've talked about, but I can't tell you. And the Senate is supposed to vote on the budget next Wednesday and Thursday. Then it will be up to the House to take the budget and begin to work on or see what they have, and then we'll have the conference to try to get out by June 30th. Just a couple of things, though. Want to mention about the mental health. That is a critical area. And I just saw a film the other day that was written about mental health and the disparity in black college students and other college students. A great film. And it is in terms of access to services and who feels comfortable with going to ask for help. For a long time, that's been a stigma. But we do have some facilities. You have the LME MCO here, Trillium, and I will get that number. If you don't get what you need, you should call them because the state has designated Trillium as the place to handle it. It was Sand Hills, now it's Trillium. And you have Monarch, you have several facilities here, but it's not enough. And we know it's not enough. So we need to do better about that, especially for our youth. We do not have enough places to address the needs of our youth, and they are highly impacted with so many issues, social media, but everyday living issues and bullying. So that's one of the issues I'm very concerned about. We do have some funds in DHHS, and we're pushing our new secretary to push more into mental health services. That's one of our priorities. The other thing I wanted to mention, someone mentioned collaborating with the community and ideas. Most of us do that. I have a very strong collaboration with the Triad Farmers, the beloved community. Things we can't legislate, we can come together as a community and work on. And that's so very important that we do. We do it with the city. I wanted to say about the growth and all. I agree Greensboro isn't where it should be. I've been saying that for 15 years. Why don't we get the businesses like Charlotte and Durham and Raleigh and all? But the last few years now, I can say between the city council, the state, the county, and our governor, Governor Cooper, we have gotten more companies to come into Greensboro than we had for a very long time. And I really want to thank the city council for their support. We may have helped push the money, but y'all did a lot of the work. So we don't have what we ought to, but we've done better. Some of the major companies like Boom, like Toyota, offer salaries of like $58,000, a more affordable living, and people are recruiting. They're recruiting folks, and you don't have to have a college degree. We have our community colleges doing training for those companies. You don't have to have a 2 or 4 year degree. You can get trained for some of those jobs. And people need to know it if they don't. And you can call my office or call any of us. But we are growing, and I'm certain with the city council, with us in the state legislature, we're going to continue to do whatever we can to pull more to Greensboro. We deserve it. And I say Greensboro, but it's Guilford County. Greensboro, High Point, Summerfield, everybody. We're going to continue to pull as much. With all of our highways, companies are interested in us, and we need to take advantage of that. So I agree we aren't where we ought to be, but I feel comfortable we'll continue to grow. And the last thing I want to mention is the DEI. You can't ignore it. We had it in education, higher education the other day. It's just senseless. And those of us on the Democratic side really kind of lashed out at the folk. Because what people don't understand is diversity and inclusion is about all of us. Some of you are from rural areas. That's diverse. It's not just race. It's parts of the county, parts of the country you live in terms of making things accessible to those who are not in metropolitan area, people with disabilities. I think we have to do, it may not help, but when you talk to people who are against diversity, try to educate them, because I think a lot is ignorance. A lot is intentional because it's coming from Washington. And North Carolina is trying to replicate it, and we are better in North Carolina than that. So we need to continue to do that. We shouldn't allow the folks you elect to support foolishness like that and just tear up our state. We worked too hard to build this state. We worked much too hard. I've been around here since the mid-'60s, and I know the struggles. We worked hard to build the state where it is, and we should not allow somebody who doesn't even know the first thing tell us what to do in North Carolina. And then finally, I agree about the food deserts. I'm really saddened about the fact that our children, and it is in the governor's budget this year to have free food for every child. It is in the governor's budget. So none of our children should have to pay, and none of them should go hungry. So that should help to address one piece, and I expect that to pass. He also has in the budget earned income tax credit. Someone else mentioned that. So we're hoping, and you ought to, as you're sending letters, et cetera, push folks, urge legislators to pass those pieces in the budget because it impacts the whole community. Earned income tax credit, food, nutrition for the children, and I had one more, represent the guns. Oh, the concealed weapons, for everybody. It is so sad. We have a group of us who've been trying to work on solutions across all of the elected officials, talk about what are we going to do about all the guns on the street and the killings. And here we are now where the weapon, anybody can get a weapon. And if anybody can get it, it's going to overtax our police department, our sheriffs, and everybody else. So it's senseless, and we have to you are the people to do something about that. We didn't write the legislation. None of us did. So you're the people to do something about that in terms of those folks who write that kind of legislation. They don't belong there. They don't belong in lawmaking for the state. So thank you so very much. Call my office anytime. You know how to get in touch with me, and I have cards. Thank you.
Again, I want to thank each and every one of you who are here and those who will be watching this. Thank you for your time and your attention to this very important gathering of citizens of Guilford County. And again, we thank you for taking the time to be with us. Legislation often changes in the process of being voted on. And so I've tried to have as a unwritten rule of my own that I don't comment on what possibly could change. However, there are some things that are philosophical to me as a person and as a representative. And here's the number one thing that I firmly believe. The America that we fought for is worth fighting for again. The America that we have fought for is worth fighting for again. And all of these things that threaten the safety, the upward mobility, the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness of Americans and North Carolinians are worth fighting for. Specifically, I can say House Bill 171 is un-American. America is diverse. The initials DEI have a lot different meaning than the actual words that they stand for. To say that you are anti-DEI is kind of you can take a mental flight. That doesn't register like what it actually is. To say that you are anti-DEI says that you are anti-diversity in a diverse society. To say that you are anti-DEI says that you are anti-equality in a country that says that all men are created equal. To say that you are anti-DEI says that you are anti-inclusion in a country that founding document says that all have the right to the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So we can't allow anti-DEI to be separated from what it actually means. True patriots, not those who call themselves patriots or pretend to be patriots. True patriots fight for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and not against it. So I'm very firm that I can say that any anti-DEI legislation that comes before us in any form, if the end goal is anti-DEI, I will vote against it and speak against it. And my activist roots will show back up even on the House floor. I also think that it is anti-American to restrict voter registration and voter access. We should be expanding voting rights. We should be expanding voting rights, not restricting them. I am a proponent of automatic voter registration. You turn 18 years old and you have not disqualified yourself by felonious activities, that you should have to opt out of voting instead of opting in voting. We have the infrastructure to do it. You cannot turn 18 without being a selective service, not knowing who you are. The infrastructure exists to do it, and I believe that automatic voter registration should be a part of what we have in this state and in this country. Of course, I must say, with the safeguards to make sure that every person's vote counts and every person's vote is secure. That is very, very important. The Business League and statewide NAACP, I'm glad to have had a long-standing relationship, and I'm glad to stand again with those entities to make sure that all of North Carolina is included in North Carolina's growth. So thank you for being here with that. Homelessness and poverty, certainly. I want to thank the City Council, thank our city manager who is here as well for his plan, and the City Council for embracing a plan that will build your definition of affordable housing, that will address the housing crisis that we have in our city and our state, and firmly I stand behind that. To talk about, Ms. Kay Brown talked about the deeper levels of racism that House Bill 171 and Senate Bill 227, certainly those things I've addressed just now. The question was asked, do you commit to enter into covenant to represent people over party? Representative Elmer Floyd, who is no longer in the legislature, he represented Cumberland County, taught me something in my first term. I'm now in my fifth. He says this is the way you have to vote. You have to vote conscience, constituency, caucus. Don't violate your conscience. Stand up for your constituency because they're the ones who sent you there, and then caucus, how the caucus stand comes in third. And that's the way I've tried to conduct the way that I vote in Raleigh. Will you seek the will of the people before voting on DEI legislation? Absolutely. This is a part of it, as Representative Bluss pointed out, and Representative Clark and Senator Robbins. All of our emails are there. We read them. We get them. Even if it's the same email coming from different email addresses, that tends to say to us that there's some support behind this, and so we do pay attention to those things. Also, feel free to call us. Ms. Watkins and I have just recently talked about food insecurity because she called me and we had that conversation. So don't want to put the onus on you. We can and will continue to be accessible to you, Mayor of High Point, former Mayor of High Point, Sims, who is here. We're coming to High Point as a legislative gathering, and we're going to be there to continue to be accessible. Finally, I'll say this, the growth of Guilford, well, I'm a Baptist preacher, so I get 3 finals. I'm telling you that now. And I'm counting what's 1, 2, 3 as well. I'll say this, not to belabor the time. We are concerned about Guilford County standing in the state of North Carolina, and that we are lagging behind Mecklenburg and Wake County. And if we're not careful, our sister county, Forsyth County, with Representative Baker and others, they are making strides in Forsyth County and Durham County. We no longer want to be lagging behind, and we are making moves as far as making sure, first of all, our people are taken care of, and also that our infrastructure is utilized. We're called the Gate City for a reason, because with all these highways and all these mechanisms that we have, we are the gateway to the world. And as we see international, multinational corporations coming in, we're seeing that play out. Also, we don't want to be the Wild Wild West. We don't want everybody 18 years old who can go and get a weapon, to have a weapon, as Representative Clark said in different words, but to carry around death in their pocket with no training and no accountability as to who has it. The permitting system also allows us to know who's in possession. The Second Amendment has weight. We must appreciate the fact that we have a Second Amendment. But I don't think the framers of the Constitution intended for the society that we have right now, with the issues that we've talked about, with a mental health crisis, with a domestic violence crisis, with school shootings. That was not in existence when the Constitution was written, but it's a reality for us now. And there are 18-year-olds who are enrolled in our schools who, if this legislation passes, says that they can wake up, get dressed, get their book bag, get their gun, cover it up, and come in our schools. Again, I'll close by how I started. The America we fought for is worth fighting for again. Thank you all very much for being here tonight. And if there are any who desire to speak to us individually, we'll be around for a few moments.